No Mason or North Village, somewhere close that we can.
And I can understand where they're coming from.
I can see where they're coming from on that. It still creates traffic, and I don't want it to be there. But that's a spot to look at and say, Sorensen has enough density.
I kind of look at it differently. If they're creating the problem.
Yeah.
And they, like the Mayflower, they're going to build it on site.
Yeah.
And they're the one that created the need for the housing.
Oh, they are. No, I know.
And most of them now wants to build on site because of the change in the ordinance that would make it not
I hope they
feasible.
do, but that one has so, and they're talking $1,300 per square foot or something. They're talking amazing dollar amount.
Why couldn't we get Justin, our tax attorney here, to come up with some kind of tax scenario that we could present to that development and say, here's how much of a write-off you could get if you were to turn this into a conservation easement. You know what I mean? Is that too
The only
funny?
problem we got 4 property owners
I understand.
owns it. And they all just gathered up the paper from the last foreclosure. And they're looking a way to make a fast buck.
I
So they don't
totally
need the
understand.
tax write-off.
Well,
Most of them don't have the wherewithal to buy it outright. That's why you got 4 owners.
why couldn't a donor come in, Tracy, and help us with that piece? You know, why couldn't a donor come in and say, we want the entryway to this valley to stay pristine? You know, why is it we couldn't do some specific, you know, work on this bond or with the donors for that piece?
Well, let's just talk about the bond we're trying to decide to put on the ballot. I agree with Steve, it's going to take somebody with big bucks to deal with that and figure out. And this bond money should not be used for an outright purchase, period.
Right.
It's not what it's intended to do. We're trying to show the public how we're going to leverage all this money. An outright purchase, I know Park City loves to do it, but that is not the way to go about saving open space. And they know it, but it's kind of gotten around Park City now that that's what they do, is buy land. And so
They're in a bad way now with this Treasure Mountain piece.
yeah, I mean, they're just
$68
buying.
million, and they don't know if people will go for
And
it.
that's for half the density rights. Now they come up with a full-on purchase. I mean, but the point is what we're trying to do here is leverage and save the most land with conservation easements, and we're trying to stretch the money, and I just don't think buying that corner is the way
No, I'm
to.
not suggesting that, I'm just saying.
No, I'm just,
I'm thinking, once
It
we get
takes
the
a
bond,
big-
then this board could go to work to find a way to get out from under that piece of property. I
I'm
don't
kind of
think-
back where Ryan was, though, relating to the very things you guys were talking about. If we get drawn into specific pieces of property, we're going to have a real hard time.
Yes.
Eventually that happens at public meetings or something comes up, but we need to create good fortune so that when this passes, to the very thing you said, so we're ready to celebrate next November 9th or 10th or whatever it is, and by golly, we got this passed. We need to have seeded a couple of projects where right away we're stretching our money, we're preserving something that is in the documents that you guys have all worked on that has value to it and shows the best part, to your point that you made 2 meetings ago. That is, this is what we are aspiring to do with this money, so that the first thing we do might even be people who are stepping forward and saying, you know, we'd like to be a part of this. We think so much of Heber Valley, and we own X number of acres, and we'd really like to talk with you right away. There's no control for the property prices having a little flux, but I think there is control finding a couple of real winners right out of the gate so that we can spend that first year or 2 putting together a real nice deal at a couple of different places in the valley. I don't know how that factors into the gateway coming off of Highway 40 or not, for all the reasons you've talked. But I do know, I think I know, that we've got to have some really good examples and some people who will stand up and say, I'd be interested in talking to the county and partners about moving forward with this. And get out all of the tools in the toolbox, see what we can stack together and put together and create that interest. And I think there are people who want to do that.
Well, just to interject here, this is now at the county level, but that piece is included in the Heber City's annexation policy plan, which a public hearing is going to be this Thursday on. And I'm pretty sure the mayor wants to push that plan forward, and that could then put it right into the city's law court instead of the county. But as a city, we're not ready yet to deal with conservation easements or so forth, issues of open space on that property. And we need to be. And we'll keep pushing on that one.
Well, so maybe the takeaway then is we just keep it in the back of our mind. I like your suggestion to, you know, maybe do some behind the scenes stuff, but this should be the focus, the conservation easements.
I think if we had a pot of money that the property owners knew was there, we'd have them step forward. And
You know what I mean? It's a
one-
chicken and the egg situation.
Yeah.
It's like they've been hearing about this for 20 years, and so the county, hopefully, is gonna say, okay, we're serious about this. That changes everything. Just getting a bond on the election and hopefully passing a bond. To me, I'm not gonna do any celebrating if that passes, because that is just the beginning of all the work we gotta do. And so, you know, I do believe that it's kind of like one's waiting for the other to happen. And it's like, you know what, somebody's just gonna have to step up and
Yeah.
start the process. And hopefully the county will do that, get it on the ballot.
Yeah.
And that's when these guys go, okay, this could really happen. This could start happening instead of hearing about it. So
Mhm.
I agree. I think there are people that have been interested for a while.
So should we look at the slides here?
Yes, let's
Tracy,
do
do you
that.
have anything that you had done?
No, because I had the wrong, I thought I had done something a week ago or whatever, and
What
You
if we
got
come
that?
down here and then you can kind of face the table, is that all right?
Oh, perfect.
Okay, so,
Now, you got the first one.
yeah, those are mine. That's Ryan's.
Oh, okay.
Do you-
I like the next slide, that whoever put it in the public interest one.
Yeah, I like that. I've seen this.
I think,
Yeah.
I think it's,
I put in the figure there. It was over 1,700 people, but that's all I changed. on
This
that
was kind of a frame we built in the last meeting and I just
Yeah.
populated it.
Midway has,
Good
they,
job.
they have a
You
number,
guys do a future.
yeah.
You're going somewhere, right?
So if there's anything else anybody wants to add there, any other ideas?
I'm sorry?
Any other ideas or anything else? Anyone wants to add?
2016 Washington County voted overwhelmingly for an A zone.
We can even hand out the survey or anyone
Yeah.
part, just those pages for to deal with it.
Heidi, what year was your
Did
survey?
you, we just did it this year. We just did it in January, February.
I don't know about your fourth bullet point.
I think the point we were trying to make is that there's so much excitement about this that there's even a group petitioning for another referendum. But I understand your point.
Yeah,
we
maybe,
don't want-
it is.
It shows the interest. It shows the
Yeah.
commitment of
Yeah.
people.
I think that's good.
Okay.
Good
Now,
point.
this is a slide I've come up with on benefits of open space. There's this national study that shows revenue cost to provide public services for each dollar of revenue received. So for residential, I'm sorry, I need my glasses, business, that's business. For every dollar of revenue to the city or county, it costs just 30 cents to provide services to businesses. For agriculture, it's 37 cents on the national average, but for residential, it's $1.16. And they had some really great quotes in this survey that to help local leaders discard the notion The natural resources must be converted to other uses to ensure stability. This shows that the stability is keeping farmland farmland. And that if you let it develop into residential, you're going to end up paying more than you get back in revenue. I really like this one, dispel the myth that residential development leads to lower taxes. It shows it doesn't. That farmlands isn't, this is a myth, that farmland's an interim land use waiting for development. That's the myth. I like that. And then out of this study, they had a couple of places in Utah where the COCS survey has been done, but it's back from 1994. And it's showing in Cache County, Sevier County, and Utah counties that for every dollar, right, that it takes 57 cents or 99 cents in Sevier County, which is probably its own story, but 82 cents out of that dollar of revenue in Utah County to service farmland. So these are higher numbers than what the national survey is saying, right? And maybe we could ask if they're, they don't like these numbers, or you don't like these numbers, you don't think they're really positive for what we're trying to present. We can always ask the county to do a cost of service study, like they're saying, if it came to that. But the national study is very favorable. But these are old surveys. They're back in the 90s. Things would have changed by now. So I can take them out. I believe in it.
I think I'd take the numbers out.
These numbers down here?
Yeah, and just go with your verbiage is the benefits.
Okay. And then there's some more on the next slide, so I'll take out the Utah surveys. Thank you. I was going somewhere on this one to try to see how saving the Northfields would help our air quality. And I was not able to get the information here, but just follow my logic, and if it is logic, and see if you think it's worth pursuing. So, the amount of vehicles in Wasatch County is 28,000. We divide that by the population of 30,000, and that's 0.92 cars for every person in the county. And then the Northfields has 2,800 acres. At current zoning, I have to figure out how many homes are there, times by this 3.919 per household, and then how many vehicles are there, right? And then if the zoning doubled or tripled or quadrupled, how many more vehicles is that? And then I have the citation of the average vehicle produces 4.7 metric tons of pollution. And then if we do conservation easements, we can remove 7,000 pounds, which is not tons, but it happens per acre per year. That's currently sequestering 19 million pounds of carbon dioxide in our valley. Now, maybe this is too complicated, but you see where I'm going.
I'm afraid it is. I'd rather see us go with this slide right here, and then add just a couple of bullet points under each one
Well,
of them.
this is the next one, where I've done more research, and so first was the cost, right? And then it went to environmental quality, and that they protect air and water quality. There's great examples from Georgia that show that. Water filtration, stormwater, lower infrastructure costs. It's a private property owner's choice, provides incentives for tax benefits, and even other incentives for growth to happen in cities, right? And then just kind of a blurb about protecting it for future generations. So this is more general.
Okay. We need to have this last one put in there. Preserve the historic or agricultural use. Or preserve the rural character of the agricultural use, something to that effect.
Sure, right there. Or I can put it anywhere else you'd like. So
Well,
this is more of a blurb.
So I'd rather have it a bullet point.
Okay.
And I think what we could do on this previous slide, because with all the ton, how did you call it, the carbon dioxide?
Yeah, there is preserving 19 million.
I think this could maybe be a handout, like a supplemental thing,
Okay.
almost like the appendix of a report. But I felt like that's pretty heavy for a
It is.
high-level presentation.
I was trying.
of,
But see, then they'll say, well, if you allow development in other parts of the county, you still have the cars. And that's true. But at least we preserve some ability for the carbon dioxide to be sequestered, right? Preserve
Well,
it
and
right
this
in
is
the
the
middle of
kind of
our
stuff we
valley.
can use for the community outreach,
Okay.
Yeah.
to inform the public about this stuff. But as far as the county council goes, I
Right.
think even if you just
Okay.
verbally talk about just a couple of less cars on the roads, not to mention the green space filtering the pollution that's already here.
John Deere puts out more black
I-
smoke
I-
with 1,000 cars.
And I think
That's
just
not
hitting the points
Not to change the oil. I
will
think
be
just
less
add-
argumentative. You get into some of
Okay.
these points, you may have somebody want to argue the point with you.
Okay, so make the air quality slide, tone it down, make a separate handout if we use it for public outreach, right?
I wouldn't make it for the presentation on the 14th.
Okay, that's fine. That's why I brought it. I
Yeah.
wanted to see if
It's
it
better to
was
start with too much than
convincing
hone
or
it down,
not.
right?
Okay, so that's everything I've done. I don't know what else anybody else has done.
Whose slide was this, the estate planning? This was Justin's,
That was
wasn't it?
Justin.
Yeah.
What were you looking
It's all
for
the
with
legal
examples?
stuff.
Examples of property or examples of tools in the toolbox? What was the?
The estate, he was supposed to give like more of a,
Quick presentation on how people could save or
and taking
how
a
would it benefit them.
specific instance of somebody's property and going, look, if they had a conservation easement, this is how much they'd save on their taxes and taxable
I think
income.
we change this to property owners' benefits to the property owners,
Okay.
and do estate planning, tax benefit, source of revenue. I mean,
Property owners benefit, right?
or
How would I just make the change
Because I think the
live?
tax benefit
Yeah,
actually might
I
go into a
only have
big
the
play.
viewer thing
Okay.
on this one. I
Landowners,
don't
there's a lot of
have
money
the
that-
actual
He's got a home
software.
out there and wanted to buy some of the adjacent pieces and use it to offset his taxes. He's got that.
but, you know, I'm thinking of somebody in the Northfield, if they got it, sold their development rights, that'd give them a cash flow that they might expand and buy some of the neighbor's property that's each divided and enlarge,
Okay.
or let them have the benefit of the increased property value as working capital or part of their retirement or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Give them a cash flow.
Mhm.
I'm sure Justin can really help you, or help us put those words together. Okay, ready to move on?
And I like this one.
That was me. I was supposed to do that.
So what did you fill in, Tracy?
Nothing, because I had the wrong one and I totally edited a different one and sent it to you guys a week ago, and so I thought I did my work.
Okay, okay.
So I'll get on that and send it to everybody.
The
So is
navigating legal mumbo jumbo, that was
Is
a
there-
great point.
And that was gonna be Justin too. That wasn't gonna be me.
Well, it's, yeah, this might be a good thing. Tracy and I know a guy named Mickey Oxner, and he was the planning chair for Midway City for I don't know how many years. And he actually wrote a document he wanted me to share with you guys. And it gets to this issue. What are some other things that can be done to preserve open space in addition to bond money, basically?
Okay.
And
So you can-
see, one of you got 2 copies there. I thought I had 5. In any event, and to your point, Mickey took the time to lay out some other additional items that a potential landowner might be interested in, and some benefits that could come, that will no doubt come up after we get past the county council. And so I present it only as some ideas that he studied and researched, and his, as you can tell by some of his language, he's clearly driving towards preserving agricultural land. And what are some of those opportunities that are out there to keep 40 acres at 40 acres, to keep 20 acres at 20 acres, to keep, even to the point, he wrote a piece on the back there about commercial agriculture, and could the county fill a role in enticing some small-scale community agriculture coming in, which has happened in upstate New York, in the panhandle of Idaho, and in other places. And to me, these, I wouldn't say it's a tool of preserving open space. It are ideas that need to be vetted and thought through. but it's maybe chapter 2 of what we're trying to do so that we can direct people to some other opportunities that might be coming their way. And to the point Steve has made even as far back as last summer when he talked to the Midway City people, that this rural character thing, that phrase, rural character, it just keeps coming back and coming back and coming back. And whether it's the old John Deere tractor, whether it's the horses, whether it's the chickens, whether it's the apple grove, whatever it is, those are some options that might be there. So all I'm doing is passing it out today. You've got Mickey's number. He's a way sharp guy. He's worked hard on Midway City issues for years and years. Give him a call.
Again, just give me.
He's a retired guy in Midway, and for the last 8 years, he was on the Midway Planning Commission.
Okay.
And he just finished that tour. In the last 2 years, maybe 4 years, he was chair of the Midway Planning Commission. So he's had these kind of conversations. And Steve, what he wants to know, with that document, with a little editing, when would be the best time to do a letter to the editor or something like that with his document?
Well, I think it's a little premature now, because on this one about the smaller parcels, they're running legislation this year to take care of that. So that.
What's that? Wasatch County property.
Yeah, the ones under 5 acres that don't
No more of the green belt?
Green belt, we're taking it down to 2.5.
Okay.
And
So wait a while. Let's get this ball
Well,
rolling, and then
I need to
use
meet
this.
with him because he called me a number of times,
Okay.
and I haven't had a chance to get back to him
Okay.
and set up a meeting. But maybe what we ought to do is, once we get this ball rolling, have him come to this meeting, and we'll sit down and discuss it. Because we're not going to be done on the 28th, because our work's just beginning on the 28th to finalize it and get more teeth into it.
Good. I'll tell him.
But we are running the legislation this year. Senator Van Tass was running it to allow us to extend lower tax rate if it's used for some kind of agriculture use parcels. And I think it's 2 acres or larger. Because what we're doing is now with the 5 acres, a guy builds a house on them, and then he's got 4 acres that doesn't qualify, and the taxes are at market value. So the first thing they want to do is develop it to get out from under the tax burden. And we're trying to, the laws exist on the books now for the Class 1 and Class 2 counties.
So here's the thought.
It doesn't extend.
Oh, for 3 and 4.
Yeah, and so Van Tass was going to try to do it under 50 miles around from the airport, 50 aero miles, a circle to kind of do the grove, and then that didn't work out, so now he's doing it statewide.
What about all these property owners that come in and want to consolidate their tax ID numbers and you know, you see it up in Timber Lakes all the time of just, I mean, yeah, it's one house on 2 lots, which we're all for, but it's also saving in property taxes every year. And so I wonder if there's a fee that could be put on something like that, that goes, because it's like, look, they're saving money in perpetuity on property taxes. And we do get less density, which is what kind of we're after. I mean, I understand that we benefit from that in certain ways, but we're also losing tax revenue forever on something like that.
Well, it depends how the assessor values them. If they're giving up a building right, so they're taking 1 lot, 2 lots, making 1 lot out of it. But that 1 lot should increase in value to a degree for the extra space, but not proportionate to the losing the building site.
But to at least get that and be able to consolidate those lots, what if there was a fee put on that? I mean, he's talking about a real estate fee over here of 25% on any land, on any real estate purchases, and I'll tell you, that's gonna get a pushback.
25%.
Right.
I thought that was illegal right now under our state laws.
It is.
Well, impact fees, so to speak,
Yeah.
for, I mean, because it's basically an impact fee, isn't it? So anyway, just, so that's what I was wondering, how that would come across of,
Yeah. The only problem we got with Timber Lakes, their taxes really not going down because they're on the hook for the water bonds and everything.
yeah, they still have to pay all their
And-
HOAs
yeah.
and everything
And-
for 2 lots. They
Yeah,
don't get
yeah.
that off the hook.
And they pay the water bonds for 2 lots because that's what was in place when we bonded.
And they're only building on one.
And they're not.
Wow.
And actually, it's a benefit to Timber Lakes because it's cut down the pressure on our water system. We didn't have enough water to, we was right on the lot.
So it is helping you guys.
It's right on the border. We got 1,541 lots up there. We got 693 acre feet of water, 0.45. We have a dry year. We may not get that much water, so it's helping us build a cushion.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so who's,
Keep
so,
So you don't want to discourage it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
I will be glad to work with somebody else
so
on this.
Tracy.
Well, I can do it, I just
Yeah,
didn't
so
know.
maybe you could kind of.
Yeah, I'll work with
Yeah, that's
Tracy on
fine.
that, that'd be good.
And then this is the bond, that the language was going to go in, the amounts of the bond. And that's kind of where Spencer was coming from. and to-
Yeah, I just need to go and find out what the cost for a standard home for 5, 10, 15,
And
or for every
commercial.
300 or 100 grand or whatever.
All right.
And I will find that out.
It's
That's it.
$9 per thousand, 100,000 assessed value.
And does it matter if it's secondary or primary?
No, it doesn't matter. Well, on a secondary, there you can be twice as much
100%.
$9 per what?
assessed value
Of what? 100,000?
per 100,000.
Does it matter if it's residential or commercial, or it's all the same?
It's all the same.
Yeah,
And
or
then,
nine.
and then it's,
What is that?
that's for $1 million.
Would you repeat that, please?
$9 per 100,000 assessed value per $1 million taxable value.
Oh, for 1 million in the bond.
Yeah.
But
So
that's, is that
you-
residential?
That's
all.
what he just
That's all.
asked.
That's all.
It's the same.
And then if it was secondary home, it would be like 18 or 20 bucks per minute.
Well, they're gonna be higher.
Because we're at 45% per,
See, the typical home in Wasatch County is 300,000, and we're at
Mhm.
65% of that, so that's 250.
You keep looking at me like I'm a math whiz.
Well, somebody needs to step up.
So, I know, it's like, wait a
Now,
sec,
if
so
you-
say that
If you
again.
got, say the average home is 300,000 in Wasatch County.
Yes.
And if it's a primary assessed, primary, it's valued at 55%.
Oh, okay, so we're doing this.
So take 300,000 times .55,
165.
okay,
Mm,
times that by $9.
no.
1.485.
No, it's going to be,
It would be $14.85.
yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
And then you do that, if we go a $5 million bond, it's probably pretty close to 5 times that.
74.